Chapter 23-25. Suddenly Master Qin made a move. Looking at his appearance, it seemed like he still wanted to try and see if he could enter the 7th floor. However, this was normal. He was the only one on the 6th floor. Master Qin didn't need to practice inscription patterns here. Under such circumstances, instead of staying here and doing nothing, he might as well try and see if he could enter the 7th floor. Therefore, Luo Qingtong watched as he continued to walk towards the 7th floor. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She looked at Master Chen's movements and the bloody light in her eyes flickered. All of a sudden her eyes lit up and she laughed. That's it. She snuck up behind Master Chen and made sure that she was in his blind spot. He wouldn't be able to see her or see her movements, so she made her move. Boom. When Master Chen took a step forward and blocked the light at the entrance of the 7th floor, Luo Qingtong's inscription pattern also hit the light at the entrance of the 7th floor. Luo Qingtong's bloody eyes allowed her to copy the aura of anyone's inscription pattern. Her inscription pattern was exactly the aura of Master Chen's inscription pattern. Master Chen was entangled with the light at the entrance of the 7th floor, and the aura of the inscription patterns around him was desperately attacking the light at the entrance of the 7th floor. With so many inscription patterns entangled with each other, Master Chen didn't notice anything wrong with the aura of Luo Qingtong's inscription pattern. Boom. After Luo Qingtong's inscription pattern was blasted out, Master Chen was obviously able to withstand the light at the entrance of the 7th floor for a moment longer. Then with a boom he was blown away again. However, this time Master Chen was overjoyed. The light at the entrance of the 7th floor was shaken. Master Chen was pleasantly surprised by the revelation. He had already tried several times at the entrance. The feeling was the same every time. However, this time he clearly felt that the light at the entrance was weakened. Could it be that his attack was effective? Did he accidentally hit a certain part of the entrance and that was why it was shaken? If that was the case, didn't it mean that he might be able to enter and obtain that item this time? Thinking of this, Master Chen was very excited. If he could, of course he wanted to take that thing away as soon as possible. Although they could wait until the people of Lingyu City obtained the inscription tower, they could slowly study it and take it away. But in this way, the longer he stayed, the more likely his identity would be exposed. If others were to find out that he had obtained this item, it would be a huge disaster. Thinking of this, Master Chen immediately made up his mind. He didn't even care about healing himself as he rushed toward the entrance of the 7th level. Looking at his action, Luo Qingtong raised her eyes slightly. Following her previous action, she continued to cooperate with him and blasted the light at the entrance of the 7th floor. The power of the inscription pagoda that she could control was not as strong as Master Chen's, but she had the eye sorcery. Chapter 23-26. Every attack from Luo Qingtong could help Master Chen shake the entrance to the 7th floor a little. How could Master Chen not be excited when he saw this scene? He originally thought that it would be impossible for him to break through the light at the entrance to the 7th floor in a short period of time. However, at this moment, with the assistance of Luo Qingtong, he saw the hope of breaking through. Immediately, his confidence increased greatly, and the strength of his attacks became even more powerful than before. Originally, he was afraid that he would hurt his foundation at the entrance to the 7th floor of the inscription tower, so he didn't dare to forcefully attack. Every time he tried to attack, he would hold back. Therefore, when he was sent flying by the light at the entrance to the 7th floor, he wouldn't be injured. After all, the light at the entrance to the 7th floor was reflected according to the attacker's strength. If someone who didn't meet the requirements entered, even someone as strong as the president of the Central Inscription Association would be sent flying with a single blow. If Master Chen used all his strength to attack, if he couldn't break through the light at the entrance to the 7th floor, he would definitely be seriously injured by the rebound of the attack. Therefore, when he attacked, he left some leeway. However, at this moment, seeing that he had hope of breaking through to the 7th floor, how could he hold back? Naturally, he would attack with all his strength so that he could successfully break through to the 7th floor. In this way, even if he was seriously injured, it didn't matter. Therefore, after a few consecutive attempts, Master Chen found that his strength was indeed able to shake the entrance to the 7th floor. Moreover, with Luo Qingtong's conscious cooperation, he felt that his attacks were becoming more and more effective. Immediately he was wild with joy. In the end, he used all of his strength. All the inscription marks of a heaven-level spirit print master were mobilized in his body, and one powerful inscription pattern after another floated outside his body. Each of them was enough to kill an inscription master below the heaven-level spirit print master. Looking at the aura of the power of the inscription tower that was lingering around him, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed slightly. The opponent's strength was indeed powerful, and not something an ordinary spirit print master could compare to. Although Luo Qingtong's inscription comprehension was comparable to an ordinary spirit print master, she could only comprehend it and had never fought against an expert of the same level. Not to mention that Master Qin was one of the most powerful heavenly-level spirit print masters. Although Little Pig didn't specifically tell Luo Qingtong about the division of spirit printer masters above advanced rune masters, Luo Qingtong knew that Luo Qingtong was a spirit printer master. However, Luo Qingtong understood the meaning of its words. Spirit print masters were divided into 3 realms: heaven, earth, and mortal, just like the 3 realms of martial artists. In that case, this Master Chen's true inscription ability was probably above many spirit print masters. If Luo Qingtong were to fight against him, even with her eye technique analysis, she would not be his opponent. After all, the other party's inscription comprehension and experience were extremely powerful. But Luo Qingtong didn't have any experience as a spirit print master. This was the most fatal. Without experience, she might not be able to win against her opponent in terms of the conversion of the power of the inscription tower. If the other party's inscription pattern and power were stronger than hers, then it would be troublesome. But now, Luo Qingtong chuckled as she watched Master Qin prepare for the final attack. It was obvious that after a series of probing, the other party had made up his mind to stake it all on one throw. Chapter 23-27. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and dispersed the power of the inscription pagoda in her hand. She calmly watched as Master Qin prepared for his final attack. Boom! Master Qin had gathered all the power of the inscription pagoda that he could mobilize in his attack. The pressure of the inscription pagoda that he had just endured was all converted into the inscription patterns that surrounded his body. At the same time, all the power in his body was poured into the inscription patterns around him. With a boom, he blasted towards the entrance of the 7th floor. Bang! His power landed heavily on the entrance of the 7th floor, but it did not weaken the light of the entrance of the 7th floor as he had imagined. On the contrary, without Luo Qingtong's attack to help target the weakness, the light of the entrance of the 7th floor was dozens of times stronger than Master Chen's previous attack. Pfft! Before Master Chen could react, he was sent flying by the rebounding force. His body was sent flying high into the air and smashed backward like a kite with a broken string. Along the way, the wind that his body cut through whistled like a ghost. Not only that, but he also spat out a large mouthful of blood. The skin all over his body burst open with numerous small wounds, and a large amount of blood spurted out. It was obvious that he was severely injured by the rebounding light of the entrance of the 7th floor. When Master Qin was sent flying, he was completely dumbfounded. He could not understand how the entrance of the 7th floor, which had become smoother and more shaken under his bombardment, had suddenly recovered its previous toughness and strength. The result of his attack should not be like this. Just as he was in a daze and did not know what was going on, he spat out blood and retreated. Luo Qingtong made her move. She had lured Master Qin step by step to use an even stronger force to bombard the light of the entrance of the 7th floor. It was all for this moment. The power of the inscription pagoda around him had been exhausted, and he had also inscribed countless inscription patterns in an instant. He had not been able to recover for the time being. In her eyes, Master Qin was even weaker than an ordinary spirit print master. Boom! A huge inscription pattern appeared around Luo Qingtong. This time she didn't use the spirit restriction inscription from before. After all, that kind of inscription pattern was only useful for inscriptionists below the level of spirit print master. Since they were both spirit seal masters, they had their own ways to deal with it. Not to mention that Master Qin was a heavenly level spirit seal master. If Luo Qingtong had the thought of restraining his inscription pattern ability and keeping him here to torture him, she would be the unlucky one in the end. After all, she only had one chance to attack Master Qin in this one moment. Once he missed it, he would immediately be able to redirect the pressure within the inscription pagoda. At the same time, he would utilize his own comprehension of inscription patterns to draw inscription patterns around him one after another. It was sufficient to cancel out Luo Qingtong's attack. After all, Luo Qingtong's inscription comprehension was only at the level of a spirit print master. Therefore Luo Qingtong chose to copy the inscription pattern that Master Chen had used just now. The inscription patterns that Master Chen had drawn in order to break through the entrance of the 7th floor covered all the levels of spirit print masters. He had used all the inscription patterns that could be drawn from the level of a spirit print master to the level of a heavenly level spirit print master. There was no room for negotiation. Chapter 23-28. You. When Master Chen saw Luo Qingtong rush out, he was shocked, angry, and disdainful. He was shocked and angry that Luo Qingtong could appear on the 6th floor of the inscription tower. He was disdainful that the other party overestimated herself and wanted to make a move on him, even if he would be injured by the light of the entrance to the 7th floor. His inscription skills weren't something that a fledgling brat could hurt. So what if the other party could enter the 6th floor? She was probably the same as the Tianfeng inscription city lord, who was just close to the strength of a spirit seal master. With such an inscription comprehension ability, even if he didn't have any strength and took her attack head-on, it would only worsen his injuries a little. When he recovered, he would let the other party know the price of provoking him. Killing geniuses was also one of his favorite things to do. With that thought in mind, Master Chen cracked a sinister smile. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a vicious and cold gaze. However, soon his gaze changed. He was shocked and aghast. How is this possible? He looked at the inscription pattern that Luo Qingtong blasted out in disbelief. The aura on it was his own. It was exactly the same as the inscription pattern that he blasted out. How did the other party do it? When he saw the inscription pattern that Luo Qingtong blasted out, Master Chen understood why the light at the entrance to the 7th floor had been shaken. You did it? He looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. It turned out that the other party had been scheming against him from the beginning. But how did she do it? She copied the aura of his inscription pattern. No wonder he didn't notice it at all. Master Chen was shocked and furious to the extreme. He watched as the inscription pattern that carried his aura and power blasted towards him, but he couldn't resist it, and it was too late to dodge. He had no choice but to grit his teeth. In an instant, a huge light inscription pattern flew out from his body. Natal inscription mark. Every spirit print master would condense an inscription pattern when he or she was promoted to a higher level. This inscription pattern maintained the inscription master's comprehension and usage of the inscription technique. Once the life inscription mark was destroyed, that inscription master would be crippled as a martial artist. He had a belly full of comprehension of inscriptions, but he had no way to use them. The Heavenly Wind inscription city lord from before had his life inscription mark destroyed. Even if his inscription comprehension was still there, he couldn't use it anymore. However, Master Chen's last request was to make him unable to touch and teach the last bit of knowledge about inscriptions. In this life he was completely cut off from the inscription pattern technique. That was why Song Qing and the others were so agitated and indignant. At the same time, Master Chen summoned his life inscription mark. With a loud boom, the life inscription mark clashed with Luo Qingtong's inscription mark. Ka. A series of cracking sounds came, and the natal inscription mark summoned by Master Chen instantly cracked. Bastard! Xianxia, you deserve to die. Master Chen's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The life inscription mark was extremely fragile. Ordinary spirit print masters would keep it in their bodies and wouldn't release it easily. After all, once the life inscription mark was broken, he would be crippled. However, at this moment, under the attack of Luo Qingtong's inscription mark, his life inscription mark was severely injured. Chapter 23-29. Brat, how dare you? Master Chen's anger had reached its peak. His killing intent towards Luo Qingtong was blazing. Boom. The aura of the inscriptions around his body erupted at this moment. He had taken advantage of the moment when his inscription mark blocked Luo Qingtong's attack to condense and transform a new aura of the inscription tower. Bang! The inscription pattern condensed around his body instantly blasted towards Luo Qingtong. However, compared to the inscription pattern he had condensed before, the aura of the inscription pattern was much weaker. Firstly, he had hurriedly transformed the aura of the inscription tower, so there wasn't much of it. Secondly, the inscription mark in his body had been damaged, so the inscription power he could unleash in this place had plummeted. From a heaven-level spirit print master, his strength had dropped to the level of a human-level spirit print master. Even if he had a heaven-level spirit print master's inscription comprehension, he wouldn't be able to unleash it. After all, unless he wanted to completely shatter the inscription mark in his body, he wouldn't be able to unleash an inscription power that exceeded what his inscription mark could bear. Otherwise, there was no need for Luo Qingtong to make a move, and he would become a cripple himself. With that thought in mind, Master Chen was enraged. Ordinary spirit print masters wouldn't be forced to such a state. Even if spirit print masters of the same level fought, they wouldn't hurt their own inscription mark. However, he was in the inscription tower and he had met such a weirdo like Luo Qingtong. Not only did she scheme to make him lose all his power, she even copied and used the power of his inscription pattern. Unless Master Chen wanted to be blown out of the inscription tower by Luo Qingtong's attack, he could only use his inscription mark to fight. Bastard! Master Chen's anger had reached its peak. He looked at the youth holding a fan in front of him, and the coldness and killing intent in his eyes were unusually cold. The other party's background was strange and his ability was powerful. He was definitely not ordinary. You are not from the Tianfeng inscription city. His tone was cold as he said with certainty. You are also here for that thing inside? As Master Chen spoke, the killing intent in his heart burned even more fiercely. What Song Cheng's disciple? What Xieqi? That was just a cover for the other party. The other party was definitely here for the items in the inscription tower. His goal was the same as his. Otherwise, Master Chen couldn't understand why Luo Qingtong, with her strength and ability, would be willing to stand up for the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City and even consider herself as Song Cheng's disciple. However, he did not expect that Luo Qingtong was really Song Cheng's disciple. And the thing he was talking about, Luo Qingtong didn't even know about it. However, even if she told him the truth, he wouldn't believe her, right? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She glanced at the entrance to the 7th floor. The thing. Could it be related to the faintly discernible attractive force that she had been feeling since she entered the tower? Luo Qingtong thought to herself as she raised her hand to block Master Chen's attack. The latter's inscription strength had plummeted, and even though he had the comprehension of a heaven-level spirit seal master, he couldn't use it. It wasn't that difficult for Luo Qingtong to deal with it. When Luo Qingtong raised her hand to block the inscription pattern, Master Chen's heart became even more furious. Even a small youth was able to block his inscription pattern. How could he, a heaven-level spirit seal master, put his face there? Furthermore, the other party was obviously here for that thing. Luo Qingtong's previous silence was taken as tacit agreement by him. Chapter 23:30. Boom. The power of the inscription patterns around him instantly withdrew and released. In an instant, a huge inscription pattern that emitted a fierce aura appeared in front of him. Along with the appearance of this huge and fierce inscription pattern, the surrounding air was also distorted. Streaks of silver sword light appeared in the air and vaguely circled around the huge inscription pattern. Million sword illustration. Battle inscription pattern. The so-called battle inscription pattern was the same as the martial arts of martial artists. It was an inscription pattern that inscription masters could use to attack directly. To inscribe this kind of inscription pattern, the inscription master had to be a spirit seal master as well as an expert above the human martial realm. However, there were very few inscription masters in this world. Those who could cultivate both inscription patterns and martial arts at the same time were even fewer. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. But now, this Master Chen had directly inscribed a battle inscription pattern. In an instant, the aura of the inscription pattern in his hand surged. Compared to ordinary inscription patterns, the battle inscription pattern had an increase in attack power and aura. When a spirit seal master who cultivated both martial arts and inscription patterns used the battle inscription pattern, he could completely fight against a spirit seal master of a higher level. This kind of spirit seal master was called a battle spirit master among the inscription masters. Even if he was one level lower than other spirit seal masters, the power of the inscription pattern he could use through the battle inscription pattern was enough to fight against the opponent. He could directly crush martial artists and spirit seal masters of the same level. When this Master Chen used the battle inscription pattern in his hand, Luo Qingtong immediately felt threatened. This is the battle inscription pattern? Luo Qingtong carefully sensed the power and aura of this battle inscription mark. She found that it allowed Master Qin, who was only able to use the power of a mortal-level spirit print master, to increase his power by another level. Battle Spirit Master. Seeing this scene, Little Pig, who was sitting obediently on Luo Qingtong's shoulder, stood up immediately. This Master Qin is actually a battle spirit master. Damn. This kind of spirit seal master and a heaven-level spirit seal master can completely crush most of the spirit seal masters in this world. His identity is definitely not simple. Oh my god, what on earth is on the 7th floor that attracted him here? Little Pig said as he looked at the entrance of the 7th floor not far away. To be able to make a heaven-level spirit seal master and an expert above the human martial stage come here, the item on the 7th floor must be incredible. At the same time, he hurriedly said to Luo Qingtong, "Master, don't fight with him again. Battle inscription pattern is the most powerful inscription pattern. The other inscription patterns, even if their aura is stronger than this one, will be disintegrated when they meet it. I didn't expect Master Qin to have such a trump card. Let's get out of here." The other party's battle inscription pattern had its own buff, and it had an advantage against other inscription patterns. Of battle. Unless she could also use the battle inscription pattern. However, Luo Qingtong was not a human martial realm expert, so it was impossible for her to inscribe the battle inscription pattern. Chapter 23:31. She didn't expect Master Qin to be a battle spiritualist. As expected, none of these old foxes were easy to deal with. She had lured Master Qin into thinking that the entrance to the 7th floor could be shaken. He actually hid his strength in the last attack. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She looked in the direction of Master Qin and said to Little Pig calmly, "It's too late. He won't let me go." Her strength and ability had been exposed in front of him, and she had even fought with him. If she was Master Qin, she would definitely choose to eliminate the source of trouble. Now that she was in the inscription tower, she could still resist him by relying on the power of the inscription tower. But if she left the inscription tower, she wouldn't be a match for him with his strength and identity. Therefore she couldn't leave. Not only could she not leave, but she also had to help the people of Tianfeng Inscription City seize the inscription tower. As long as the inscription tower was in Tianfeng Inscription City, she would have the confidence to deal with him. While Luo Qingtong and Little Pig were talking, the battle inscription pattern in Master Chen's hand was completely formed. The power of the inscription tower on the 6th floor was rapidly stirring. The silver sword light around the battle inscription pattern had already revealed itself, revealing an incomparably sharp cold light. Turning void into reality. Using the power of inscription patterns to transform into sword light combat power. Inscriptionists had battle inscription patterns as support, and thousands of offensive techniques could be used casually. It could increase one's offensive power and combat power to an unimaginable degree. If inscriptionists were considered as support skills, then battle spiritualists were like soul masters and beast tamers, a unique combat profession. Boom. As the silver sword light completely appeared, it instantly swept towards Luo Qingtong like a dragon. They were enhanced by the inscription pattern. No matter if it was speed, attack, or accuracy, they were all incomparable to ordinary martial artists' combat skills. This attack was like countless mortal martial realm experts attacking Luo Qingtong. Seeing this scene, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly narrowed. Bang bang bang. She raised her hand and waved out inscription patterns. At that instant, her blood eye technique was fully unleashed. The trajectories of these silver sword lights were captured by her. Countless amounts of pressure from the inscription tower were transformed into streams of energy under her control, and they were injected into the inscription patterns she was inscribing. At this moment, the ability to comprehend inscriptions that Luo Qingtong revealed was shocking. If it weren't for the limitation of strength and power, she would have been promoted to a human-level spiritual print master long ago. But at this moment, in the inscription tower, her ability to comprehend inscriptions was displayed to the extreme. She wasn't a mortal rank spirit print master, but she was better than one. Even so, she was still no match for Master Qin. Just like what Little Pig said, this combat inscription pattern had an overwhelming advantage over ordinary inscription patterns. The moment Luo Qingtong's inscription patterns came into contact with the sword lights, they were all shattered into pieces. And those silver sword lights, under the support of the combat inscription patterns, were continuously formed. There was no limit to them. As long as the combat inscription patterns were not broken, these silver sword lights would be formed according to Master Chen's will and power. This was the terrifying part of the combat inscription patterns. It had no limit at all. As long as a battle spiritualist had enough power, it could continue to attack. And in this inscription tower, how could Master Chen's power be exhausted? Chapter 23:32. Master. Little Pig looked at Luo Qingtong. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. This Master Chen was actually a battle spirit master. In this inscription tower, battle spirit masters were like bugs. Such a person would not need the help of the inscription tower and would not appear in the inscription tower again. Or perhaps, even if he did appear, he wouldn't appear in the inscription tower in Inscription City that was 1-star region below. Because this place was no longer suitable for them to cultivate. However, Master Chen appeared here and seemed to be after something on the 7th floor of the inscription tower. What was there in the inscription tower in a 6-star region that was worth fighting over? Little Pig became anxious as he thought about it. Luo Qingtong watched the sword light shatter all the inscription patterns around her, but she wasn't in a hurry. Swish, swish. She condensed inscription patterns around her and rushed toward the sword lights of the battle inscriptions again. That's right, Luo Qingtong's eye technique allowed her to instantly see through the weak points contained within the pressure of the inscription pagoda and quickly break through them. Although the battle inscriptions she had created weren't as powerful as Master Chen's, they were much more powerful. However, with her eye sorcery, the speed at which she dissolved and controlled the power of the inscription pagoda wasn't any slower than Master Chen's. In fact, it was even faster than that. Therefore, with the endless supply of energy from the inscription tower, Luo Qingtong could completely win with quantity and negate the attacks from the battle inscription marks. Those battle inscription sword lights could break through the inscription patterns around Luo Qingtong's body, but soon, another layer of inscription patterns would form around Luo Qingtong's body, preventing those sword lights from advancing any further. Boom boom boom. The sword lights of battle inscriptions clashed fiercely with the inscription patterns around Luo Qingtong. Every time a large part of the inscription patterns around Luo Qingtong would break. Then a large area of inscription patterns would quickly fill in. Luo Qingtong's eye technique, copy, allowed her to not be like other inscription masters. She didn't need to use her inscription talent to redraw the inscription pattern. Instead, she could copy it directly. This would save her a lot of time and allow her to form countless inscription patterns around her body, just like Master Chen. These inscription patterns completely blocked the attacks of the battle inscriptions. However, this alone was not enough. This was because Luo Qingtong's eye technique was limited, but Master Chen's inscriptions were limitless. If this continued, the unlucky one would be Luo Qingtong. He had to find a way to deal with Master Chen. However, what could possibly hurt Master Chen on the 6th floor? Luo Qingtong had already experienced the power of the light at the entrance of the 7th level and had severely injured Master Chen. It was impossible for him to make the same mistake again. Even if she tried to seduce him, it would be useless. However, if he didn't use the light at the entrance of the 7th level, what else could hurt him? He couldn't possibly let Luo Qingtong rush into the light at the entrance of the 7th level by herself. However, Luo Qingtong had already checked the light at the entrance of the 7th level. She couldn't see through it at all. If she was unable to enter the 7th floor, then she would be severely injured by the opponent's rays of light. At that time, she would either be taken advantage of by Master Chen or be blasted out of the inscription tower. When the people of Lingyu Inscription City obtained the inscription tower, she still wouldn't be able to escape Master Chen's pursuit. Chapter 23:33. While Luo Qingtong was pondering in her mind. On the 5th floor. Lingyu City Lord, who was fighting with Song Qing, heard the commotion on the 6th floor and instantly laughed out loud. Haha. Song Qing, you're finished. I don't care where you found this expert from. But it's obvious that she's not a match for Master Chen. You people from Tianfeng Inscription City, just wait for your misfortune. Lingyu City Lord's face was extremely ferocious. When Luo Qingtong left, he thought that there was an opportunity. After all, no matter how Song Qing was able to obtain his current inscription talent, he shouldn't be a match for him who had been immersed in this path for so many years. However, he didn't expect that what Song Qing obtained was the sharing of Luo Qingtong's inscription talent. He knew everything that Luo Qingtong knew. Although he wasn't as experienced as Lengyu City Lord, he couldn't stop Luo Qingtong's inscription talent. Previously, he had cultivated many inscription patterns in the 9-layered exquisite pagoda. In addition, Song Cheng's own theoretical knowledge was solid. In this battle, Lengyu City Lord was instantly at a disadvantage. Only now did he know how Song Qing could make such big words in front of Luo Qingtong and let the youth go first. He would deal with him alone. And how could Luo Qingtong directly rush into the 6th floor without any scruples? It turned out that Song Cheng's inscription talent was enough to deal with him. He was angry in his heart. Only when he heard the commotion on the 6th floor did he regain some confidence. This commotion must be caused by that Master Qin. After all, how old was that youth named Xieqi? How could he be a match for Master Qin? Moreover, Master Chen's origin was mysterious. Lengyu City Lord had suspected several times that his strength might be above an ordinary spirit print master. Now he was completely sure of this point. Lengyu City Lord's face was proud and ferocious. However, Song Cheng's heart suddenly trembled. He shared his inscription talent with Luo Qingtong and could faintly sense her situation. At this time, Luo Qingtong was indeed focusing on defense and did not take the initiative to attack. Could it be that what City Lord Lengyu said was true? She was no match for that Master Qin. Thinking of this, Song Cheng's heart instantly became anxious. Seeing the City Lord Lengyu's confidence in Master Qin, he guessed that the other party's strength was not as simple as just becoming a spirit print master. He was probably even stronger than the average spirit print master. If something happened to Luo Qingtong, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. As he thought about it, he used all his strength to attack Lengyu City Lord. At the same time, he used another inscription pattern to attack the high-level inscription masters of Lengyu City whose inscription ability was sealed by Luo Qingtong. Bang bang bang. A group of high-level inscription masters of Lengyu City lay on the ground, unable to fight back at all. When they were attacked by Song Cheng's inscription pattern, they all spat out blood and rushed in the direction of Lengyu City Lord. So many experts all rushed towards Lengyu Inscription City Lord, instantly blocking his path in all directions. Originally, Cold Jade City Lord wanted to avoid Kai Song City's attack. However, his front, back, left, and right were all blocked, making it impossible for him to dodge. Chapter 23-34. Originally, the power of Song Cheng's inscription pattern attack was not inferior to his. With this block, he instantly vomited blood and retreated backwards. The bodies of the high-level inscriptionists of Cold Jade Inscription City all smashed into his body, causing him to once again rush backwards, and in an instant he flew out tens of meters away. At this moment, Song Cheng's inscription pattern attack arrived again. Get out of here. Who are you to mock and despise my disciple? Song Cheng's inscription pattern once again smashed onto his body, instantly causing him to be heavily injured. His body was sent out of the inscription tower. Trash. Imitating Luo Qingtong's previous gesture, Song Qing pointed his thumb downwards and gave Lengyu City Lord and the others a look of disdain as they disappeared from the inscription tower. You can't even defeat me, an inscription trash, and you still have the nerve to say that you are my disciple. Song Cheng's eyes were cold. After kicking Lengyu City Lord and the others out of the inscription tower, he rushed towards the 6th floor. If it wasn't for the fact that he was worried that something would happen to Luo Qingtong, he wouldn't have let Lengyu City Lord and the others off so easily. He would have tortured them properly before kicking them out of the inscription tower. However, at this moment he was worried about Luo Qingtong and couldn't care so much. Disciple, wait for me. I'm coming. Song Qing mustered all his strength and rushed towards the 6th floor. However, although his inscription talent was inherited from Luo Qingtong, there were still some differences between him and the young girl. For example, although Luo Qingtong's inscription talent was strong, she also had the enhancement of her eye technique. That was why she could easily enter the 6th floor. After all, the 6th floor was the category of spirit print masters. As for Luo Qingtong, although her inscription comprehension had barely reached this level, if it wasn't for the enhancement of her eye technique, she wouldn't be able to walk so casually in the 6th floor's oppressive aura. Therefore, as soon as Song Qing rushed to the entrance of the 6th floor, he felt an incomparably tyrannical aura rush out from the entrance of the 6th floor. In an instant, his figure that had just stepped into the entrance of the 6th floor was forced back by this extremely tyrannical pressure by nearly 10 meters. He was almost ejected out of the entrance. No disciple. My disciple is still inside. Song Cheng's heart was burning with anxiety. After he had rushed into the 6th level, he had sensed two forces fighting fiercely in the depths of the 6th level. The most tyrannical one was clearly not Luo Qingtong's aura. She was indeed in danger. Master Chen was no ordinary spirit print master. Song Qing absolutely believed in Luo Qingtong's talent. However, no matter how talented Luo Qingtong was, she had only practiced inscription technique for a few years and most of the time she was self-taught. If Master Chen's inscription skills were beyond the level of a spirit print master, Luo Qingtong would be in danger. As Song Qing thought about it, the veins on his forehead suddenly popped out. In the next second he took a huge step forward. He forcibly withstood the oppressive aura of the 6th floor and moved forward step by step. Every step he took forward left a bloody mark under his feet. That was the result of the oppressive aura of the 6th floor being too strong, and he forcibly withstood it. At this moment he was unable to transform the oppressive aura like Luo Qingtong. Boom boom boom. Chapter 23:35. Using the power of her eye technique, Luo Qingtong copied countless inscription patterns. At the same time she moved around, not allowing the battle inscription sword light controlled by Master Chen to have a chance to get close to her body. Once she was hit by those battle inscription sword lights, all of her defenses and resistance would immediately collapse. At that time she could only be blasted out of the inscription tower by those battle inscription sword lights. However, she didn't expect that those battle inscription sword lights could actually accumulate and increase their strength. Master Chen was shocked when he saw that the inscription patterns around her seemed to be endless and were constantly being condensed. His opponent's inscription talent had already exceeded his imagination. Any mortal-level spirit seal master wouldn't be able to do it to Luo Qingtong's level. The speed at which she condensed inscription patterns was already comparable to a heaven-level spirit seal master. The speed at which she converted the power of the inscription tower was also incomparably fast. How did she do it? He was simply a monster. Master Chen was shocked and aghast. Then he quickly changed his strategy. Every time he attacked, he would deliberately leave a part of the sword light power. Now, this part of the sword light power had become extremely thick and tyrannical in the process of superimposing again and again. At this moment, the inscription patterns around Luo Qingtong's body were once again shattered by the battle inscription sword light that he blasted out. This part of the tyrannical and thick sword light power blasted towards Luo Qingtong. He didn't believe that the inscription patterns around her body could block it again. Xieqi, get out of here. After blasting the youth out of the inscription tower and obtaining the ownership of this inscription tower, he immediately eliminated the root of the problem. He had to completely kill the other party in this Tianfeng inscription city, so as to avoid leaving behind a disaster. Looking at the thick sword light that Master Chen blasted out, Luo Qingtong's eyes were slightly cold. The light in her left hand flickered slightly. It was not the time yet. If she were to forcefully attack now, she was afraid. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind her. Left in front, it's right in front of you. Disciple. The battle inscription mark of the human martial realm is in the pillar you saw. Song Qing appeared not far behind Luo Qingtong. His entire body was covered in blood. When he saw that Luo Qingtong was in danger, he immediately shouted. As he spoke, Luo Qingtong's gaze followed his words and landed on a pillar to her left. Strangely enough, this pillar had been standing there for a long time. However, during the battle between Luo Qingtong and Master Chen, they inadvertently neglected it again and again. At this moment, under Song Cheng's guidance, Luo Qingtong discovered the uniqueness of this pillar. Compared to the other pillars, this pillar was clearly branded with lines of inscription patterns. The entire pillar seemed to be surrounded by inscription lines. Under the cover of these inscription patterns, there was clearly an inscription pattern that had already been engraved on the pillar. The battle inscription of the peak human martial realm. The reward that Song Qing had told her before, the one that was placed in the inscription tower by the experts of the Central Inscription Association. So it was here. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up slightly and she directly rushed towards the inscription pillar. Seeing her actions, Master Chen sneered. Ridiculous. That battle inscription mark of the human martial realm is something that you can easily use? Chapter 23:36. As Master Chen spoke, his heart was filled with disdain. His opponent's talent was indeed extraordinary. However, he probably didn't know how difficult it was to learn the battle inscription patterns. Not every inscription master who had advanced to the human martial arts realm could immediately learn the battle inscription patterns. The rarity and preciousness of a battle spirit master was beyond everyone's imagination. This Xieqi thought too simply of the matter. And that Song Qing. Master Chen glanced at Song Qing, who had appeared on the 6th floor. Although his body was covered in blood, the fact that he could appear on the 6th floor meant that his talent was amazing. However, wasn't he the useless inscription master from Tianfeng Inscription City? How could he break through all the way to the 6th floor? This was simply unimaginable. After this matter was over and the inscription tower was in his hands, he would definitely capture him and interrogate him to see how he did it. Once this method was in his hands, it wouldn't be inferior to the things on the 7th floor. As he thought about it, Master Chen's eyes were filled with greed. After Luo Qingtong's body was covered in layers of inscription patterns, she rushed towards the inscription pattern pillar. Boom! Her hand directly pressed on the inscription pattern pillar. Before Master Chen could react, the battle inscription patterns on the inscription pattern pillar instantly flew up. Master Chen was wrong. Luo Qingtong didn't need to slowly master and learn the battle inscription patterns. She only needed to adjust the aura and power of her own inscription patterns and turn it into the aura and power of the battle inscription patterns left behind in the inscription pattern pillar. Then she would be able to drive the battle inscription patterns on the pillar. This was an impossible feat for others. However, Luo Qingtong had the eye technique analysis and the innate mixed yuan body. She could imitate anyone's aura and power in her own body. Boom! As Luo Qingtong's attack blasted out. In an instant, the battle inscription sword light that Master Chen blasted out was blocked by Luo Qingtong's battle inscription pattern. Battle inscription pattern versus battle inscription pattern. Roar! As Luo Qingtong blasted the energy into the inscription pattern pillar, the battle inscription pattern appeared in midair and started to spin rapidly. Then one after another the phantoms of demonic beasts appeared in midair. The battle inscription pattern on the 6th level had transformed into a beast. Roar! As if it had its own summoning array, the demonic beasts that jumped out of the battle inscription pattern turned from illusory to corporeal. Then all of them raised their heads and roared loudly as they charged towards the sword lights. Boom boom boom. The sword light clashed with the demonic beast. The human martial arts realm collided with the peak of the human martial arts realm. In an instant, Master Chen was blasted away by the collision of the two battle inscriptions and spat out a mouthful of blood. Originally he would not have lost so miserably. But who asked him to be lured by Luo Qingtong to attack the light at the entrance of the 7th floor, which resulted in him being seriously injured. His strength had dropped to the human level. Now, the battle inscription pattern that Luo Qingtong used at the peak of the human martial arts realm was left behind by the powerhouse of the Central Inscription Association. Even if it had the same power as his battle inscription pattern, with Master Chen's current injuries, he would not be able to defeat this battle inscription pattern. Immediately, he vomited blood and flew out. Seeing that his body was about to be sent out of the inscription tower, Master Chen was extremely unwilling. Chapter 23:37. Boom! As Master Chen waved his hand. In an instant an inscription pattern shot out from his hand. This inscription pattern was not aimed at Luo Qingtong. It was aimed at Song Qing, who was standing not far away, bathed in blood. Boom! Before Master Chen's figure disappeared, the inscription pattern blasted towards Song Qing. This was because Master Chen's gaze had been fixed on Luo Qingtong. The latter did not expect that his target would be Song Qing. Master! She watched as the inscription pattern blasted heavily on Song Qing's body and brought him towards the light at the entrance of the 7th level. In an instant Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. Song Qing was already having a hard time resisting the aura of the 6th level of the inscription tower. If he collided with the light at the entrance of the 7th level, he would definitely die under the terrifying recoil. Even if the inscription tower moved him out halfway, it would be too late. This was because the light at the entrance of the 7th level was too terrifying. Damn it! Luo Qingtong looked coldly at the disappearing figure of Master Qin. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. The other party was clearly using Song Qing to deal with her. She would remember him. Once she got out of the inscription tower, she would not let him off. With this thought in mind, Luo Qingtong immediately flew up and charged towards Song Qing. Bang! She blocked Song Cheng's figure and the two of them collided with the entrance of the 7th level. Boom! The light above was triggered. In an instant, the aura of the inscription tower rushed towards Luo Qingtong and Song Qing. Disciple. Seeing that Luo Qingtong was rushing over to save him, Song Cheng's heart suddenly shrank. He was from the Tianfeng inscription city and naturally knew how terrifying the 7th level of the inscription tower was. According to the Tianfeng inscription city lord, when the inscription association handed the inscription tower to the seniors of Tianfeng inscription city, they had sternly warned them not to touch the 7th level of the inscription tower. They would die if they touched it. This was because only spirit print masters and above could enter the 6th floor. Therefore, other than the Heavenly Wind inscription city lord who was barely able to enter, the other inscription masters of Heavenly Wind inscription city had never entered. Naturally, no one had touched the 7th floor. However, this did not mean that Song Qing would take any chances. Even the people from the inscription association had to specially warn him about this matter. From this, one could see how terrifying the 7th level of the inscription tower was. Why did his disciple have to go up there? If he died, so be it. Why would she care about him? Song Qing was anxious and angry. He raised his hand to push Luo Qingtong away. However, at this moment all the strength in his body suddenly dissipated. The inscription talent that he shared with Luo Qingtong had failed. Master! Luo Qingtong was currently resisting the light at the entrance to the 7th floor. Her pupils were as red as blood and they were spinning rapidly. She had also summoned the battle inscription pattern on the inscription pillar. Under the guidance of her pupil technique, she fought against the light of the entrance to the 7th floor. She was barely able to block the light of the entrance to the 7th floor, but she was unable to leave. At this moment she saw Song Cheng's aura suddenly dissipate. Then there was a boom. Chapter 23:38. Master. When Luo Qingtong saw this scene, her eyes turned extremely cold. She raised her hand and grabbed at Song Qing. However, after Song Qing lost his inscription talent, he couldn't resist the aura of the 6th level of the inscription tower. In an instant he was smashed toward the entrance of the 7th level of the inscription tower. Luo Qingtong was fighting against the light of the entrance of the 7th level. In that instant Song Qing smashed toward the 7th level. Seeing that his body was about to touch the light of the entrance of the 7th level, Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth and rushed up. However, she was still a step too late. Bang! Song Cheng's body smashed into the light of the entrance of the 7th level. However, to Luo Qingtong's surprise, when Song Cheng's body crashed into the light of the entrance of the 7th level, he wasn't sent flying out of the 6th level like Master Qin. Instead, he disappeared from the entrance of the 7th level. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. She hastily activated her eye technique. Soon, Song Cheng's faint figure appeared in her blood-red eyes as he disappeared into the 7th floor. Song Qing had entered the 7th level. He was fine. Luo Qingtong was both surprised and happy. Her tense and cold heart suddenly relaxed, and even the cold expression on her face softened a little. However, before she could heave a sigh of relief, Little Pig, who was squatting on her shoulder, started to squeal. Careful! As his voice rang out, the light of the 7th level instantly smashed heavily onto Luo Qingtong's body. She had rushed forward to save Song Qing but didn't manage to catch him in time. However, the light of the 7th level was even more affected by her. Seeing that Luo Qingtong wasn't injured at all under its attack and even went deeper into the light of the entrance, the light of the 7th level seemed to be enraged. Boom! An even more violent and terrifying power than before instantly attacked Luo Qingtong with an invincible aura. The power of this light was even stronger than the one that attacked Master Qin. It was obvious how enraged it was. Boom boom boom. That light instantly bombarded Luo Qingtong like 1,000 raindrops. The entire area connecting the 6th and 7th levels was attacked by the light of the entrance of the 7th level, almost covering the entire area. The battle inscription pattern in front of Luo Qingtong was instantly smashed into pieces by this power. The figures of the human martial realm demonic beasts that were summoned by the battle inscription patterns also disappeared in the air at this moment with a wail. The battle inscription pattern of the peak human martial realm was destroyed. The terrifying power of the light of the entrance of the 7th level didn't weaken in the slightest as it violently blasted toward Luo Qingtong. Master. Little Pig cried out in alarm. After Luo Qingtong Luo Qingtong O Luo Qingtong. Disciple. Disciple. Song Qing didn't care that he had already entered the 7th level of the inscription tower that every inscription master dreamed of. Instead, when he saw that Luo Qingtong was in danger, he rushed back without a care in the world. Chapter 23:39. If it wasn't for his disciple being so powerful, he wouldn't even be able to enter the 6th floor. Not to mention the 7th floor. There's something wrong with this inscription tower. Damn it, my disciple is so talented and has such a powerful inscription talent. Shouldn't you be welcoming her with open doors? Don't you have any eyesight? You're actually trying to kill me. What the hell are you trying to do by letting me in? Wait a minute. Song Qing cursed in his heart and was stunned. He stopped in his tracks and shouted at Luo Qingtong, "Disciple, quick, put away all your inscription talent and act like a piece of trash. That's the innate talent of pretending to be me. Trash." He jumped up and down and said to Luo Qingtong, "That's right, from Song Cheng's point of view, the entrance to the 7th floor of the inscription tower was so mysterious. It was said that when the president of the Inscription Association wanted to enter, he was forced back by the light of the entrance and was almost seriously injured. It was obvious that the entrance to the 7th floor wasn't something that could be entered just because of one's inscription talent. Then why was he able to enter? Of course it was because he was a piece of trash. So, only pieces of trash could enter the 7th floor of the inscription tower? Of course not. A real piece of trash couldn't even enter the 2nd floor. How could he enter the 7th floor? So after thinking about it, Song Qing could only come up with one answer. That was, one's inscription talent had to be so powerful that it was inhuman. One had to be able to completely restrain the aura of their inscription talent. It was as if they had returned to their original state and the 7th floor of the inscription tower couldn't detect the slightest fluctuation of their inscription talent. Only then would they be able to enter the 7th floor. Therefore, all the people who wanted to enter the 7th floor had used the wrong method, including the president of the Inscription Association. However, Song Qing didn't have time to tell Luo Qingtong about his conjecture. He could only turn her into a piece of trash like him. With his disciple's intelligence and ability, she should be able to understand the meaning of his words and do it, right? As Song Qing thought of this, his heart leaped into his throat. Luo Qingtong reacted immediately after hearing his words. Previously, she had felt that after Song Qing had entered the 7th level, he had given her a vague feeling. However, under the attack of the light at the entrance to the 7th level, she had found it difficult to pinpoint what it was. Now that she heard Song Qing's words, she instantly understood what was going on. So that was how it was. The aura of the inscription patterns around her suddenly retracted. In an instant, the inscription aura in her body disappeared without a trace. Even the aura of the 6th level of the inscription tower that she had controlled earlier instantly broke free from her control and returned to its ownerless oppressive aura. Luo Qingtong used the advantage of her innate mixed yuan body and the power of her eye technique to directly copy the inscription aura and inscription innate ability in her body into Song Cheng's. Boom! Just as that vast and terrifying tide-like power was about to blast towards Luo Qingtong, it suddenly lost its target and dissipated in midair. On the other hand, Luo Qingtong directly broke through the light at the entrance of the 7th floor and crashed into the 7th floor. Bang! Her body rolled on the ground and then stood up. Disciple. Chapter 23:40. Cough cough. I'm fine. When Luo Qingtong broke through the light at the entrance of the 7th level, she was still attacked by the pressure of the 6th level. However, her movements were fast. Before the pressure of the 6th level hit her, she had already broken through to the 7th level, so she didn't suffer much damage. Otherwise, she wouldn't be much better off than Song Qing, who was covered in blood. She coughed lightly and waved her hand at Song Qing, indicating that she was fine. Then she raised her head and looked at the scene on the 7th level. It was said that no one had entered this place before. I didn't expect the way to enter the 7th level to be like this. Song Qing said beside her, feeling a lingering fear in his heart. That Master Chen was too shameless. He couldn't defeat his disciple, so he used himself to deal with her. If it wasn't for the strange way to enter the 7th level and the fact that he had lost the inscription talent that his disciple had given him, he would have been blasted into smithereens by the light at the entrance of the 7th level. His disciple wouldn't have been able to escape and would have been seriously injured. If it was serious, she might even lose her inscription talent. She wouldn't be able to use the power of inscriptions in the future. After all, the light at the entrance of the 7th level was too terrifying. In order to save him, Luo Qingtong had entered it again and again. Luo Qingtong nodded. She didn't expect the light at the entrance of the 7th level to be like this. Speaking of which, she still had to thank Master Chen. If he hadn't been so shameless at the end, she might not have been able to enter the 7th level. After all, even Luo Qingtong couldn't see through the light at the entrance of the 7th level. This could be considered a lucky hit. When Master Chen pushed Songqing out, he probably didn't expect such an outcome. When she got out of the 7th level, she would definitely thank Master Chen properly. Outside the inscription tower, a group of people from Tianfeng Inscription City looked in the direction of the inscription tower anxiously. Now their only hope was to regain the ownership of the inscription tower. However, the people from Lingyu Inscription City were so powerful. Could Songqing and the others succeed? Hey Master, you shouldn't have let junior apprentice brother Qing and the others take risks. An inscription master of Heavenly Wind Inscription City beside the city lord couldn't help but ask. His words weren't directed at Songqing. Instead, he felt that even if the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City couldn't win against the people of Lingyu Inscription City, there was no need to use the strength of Heavenly Wind Inscription City's city lord and the inscription masters of Heavenly Wind Inscription City as a joke. This was especially true for the Heavenly Wind Inscription City lord. He had taught countless people in his life, and he was of great significance to the inscription masters of Heavenly Wind Inscription City. The inscriptionists of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City were powerful, and half of the credit belonged to the Heavenly Wind Inscription City lord. Originally, the latter couldn't use his inscription strength because his inscription mark had been destroyed. Now that he was forbidden from touching inscriptions, he wouldn't even be able to teach others how to use inscriptions. How cruel was this to him? The people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City couldn't bear it. On the other hand, the Heavenly Wind Inscription City lord's expression was calm. Qing'er has the heart. I won't refuse him. Chapter 2341. In this life, regardless of whether Qing'er wins or not, I will never touch inscriptions again. On the other hand, because of my decision and Lingyu City's shamelessness, you guys might not be able to use inscriptions in the future. Your identity as an inscription master will also be invalidated. I've let you guys down. As the Heavenly Wind Inscription City lord spoke, he let out a long sigh. When he said this, the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City all had tears in their eyes. Master, please don't say that. Among us, there are countless people who have obtained the great Tao of inscription because of you. Now, it started in Heavenly Wind Inscription City and it will end in Heavenly Wind Inscription City. We have no regrets. That's right. Master, we will advance and retreat together with you in Heavenly Wind Inscription City. The people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City spoke with unswerving determination in their eyes. When the other ordinary people who lived in Heavenly Wind Inscription City heard their words, their eyes also turned red. Sigh, looks like this time Heavenly Wind Inscription City really has no other choice. That's right, we are really going to leave our homes. I wonder if we can still live in other Starfield cities in the future. When the ordinary people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City thought about it, they couldn't help but wipe away the tears in their eyes. As for the shopkeeper who received Luo Qingtong's kindness, he looked in the direction of the inscription tower, his eyes shining brightly. That young man called Xianxia, could he be the reason why Heavenly Wind Inscription City won't fall like that young lady said? His heart was excited. The shopkeeper of the pharmacy believed Luo Qingtong's words without a doubt. Originally, after waiting for so long, he didn't see any changes and his heart was filled with despair. However, Xianxia's appearance allowed him to see some hope. After all, this young man suddenly appeared and said that he was Song Cheng's disciple. More importantly, he even made a bet with the people of Lingyu City. In the eyes of others, that young man called Xianxia might be overestimating himself. However, in the eyes of this shopkeeper, he might very well be the reason why Heavenly Wind Inscription City won't fall like that young lady said. He was in high spirits as he waited for a change to appear in the inscription tower. When the people of Cold Jade Inscription City heard the words of the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City, they all started to laugh complacently. Haha, at least you people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City know your place. This inscription tower definitely belongs to our Lengyu Inscription City. Even your inscription techniques have been accepted by our Lengyu Inscription City. Of course. As they spoke, they looked at the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord and the others with malicious intentions and said, "If you kneel down and beg our city lord, agree to work for our Lengyu Inscription City. Perhaps our city lord will consider letting you go. Of course, in that way all of you will have to be slaves and servants in our Cold Jade Inscription City, and you'll have to be loyal and serve the people of our Cold Jade Inscription City for your entire lives. Brothers, don't you agree?" The group of people from Lengyu Inscription City laughed loudly as they spoke. The people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City all clenched their fists as they looked at them angrily. Especially the group of people who regarded the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord as their master and father. They wished that they could rush over and kill them. Bah. Chapter 2342. That's right, even if we live and die with Heavenly Wind Inscription City, we won't be the dogs at the feet of your Lengyu Inscription City. The group of people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City were filled with anger. The people from Lengyu Inscription City snorted coldly. Just as they were about to speak, they saw rays of light explode from within the inscription tower. Then one by one figures were ejected from within. Haha. They must be from your Heavenly Wind Inscription City. Let's see how sharp your mouths are. Just wait for despair. The group of people from Lengyu Inscription City sneered. They were pleased with themselves. When Lengyu Inscription City's lord and the others entered, they had already discussed that they would definitely make the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City feel incomparable despair. They would suppress the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City to the 3rd level, making it so that they wouldn't even have the chance to climb up. Thus, the group of people from Lengyu Inscription City had already determined in their hearts. The figures that were ejected from the inscription tower were definitely from Heavenly Wind Inscription City. It seemed that the people of Lengyu Inscription City had gotten tired of playing and kicked them out of the inscription tower. Sure enough, under their gazes, a group of people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City appeared in everyone's line of sight. People from Heavenly Wind Inscription City, do you see that? Your inscription masters from Heavenly Wind Inscription City are all... What? The person from Lengyu Inscription City who was laughing loudly hadn't even finished speaking when his eyes suddenly widened. In an instant his eyes bulged out like a goldfish's eyes. This, how is this possible? He looked at the scene in front of him in shock. The words in his mouth were suddenly swallowed back into his throat, almost choking him to death. However, he didn't notice this at all. He only held his throat as he looked in front of him in shock and disbelief. It turned out that the inscription masters from Heavenly Wind Inscription City who appeared one after another were all carrying the figure of an inscription master from Lengyu Inscription City. Those inscription masters from Lengyu Inscription City were all like dead dogs. They were all held in the hands of the inscription masters from Heavenly Wind Inscription City. Every one of them was half dead. Their heads drooped and they looked like they had no ability to resist at all. From the scars all over their bodies and the ability to torture them, it was easy to tell what they had experienced in the inscription tower. What? Seeing this scene, everyone in Heavenly Wind Inscription City was in an uproar. They all straightened their bodies and looked forward. Even Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others were the same. They were shocked and speechless as they looked at the group of inscription masters from Heavenly Wind Inscription City that had appeared in their line of sight. There was an indescribable feeling of surprise and shock in their hearts. What's going on? Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's voice trembled as he looked at the group of inscription masters from Heavenly Wind Inscription City. His gaze swept across the group of inscription masters from Heavenly Wind Inscription City in shock. He had never thought that they would appear in front of him in such a shocking manner. As for the group of inscription masters from Heavenly Wind Inscription City, they had already descended when everyone in the inscription plaza looked over. They threw the people from Lengyu Inscription City in their hands forward and said coldly, "The people from Lengyu Inscription City are shameless. They heavily injured us and trapped us on the 3rd floor, trying to stop us from ascending the tower. Unfortunately, they are too smart for their own good. Chapter 2343. When the voices of the inscription masters from Heavenly Wind Inscription City sounded out, the people in the inscription plaza realized that they were all injured. What was going on? The people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City were also heavily injured? Furthermore, from the meaning of their words, it was obvious that they had been set up by the people from Lengyu Inscription City, which was why they were injured to such an extent. But why was it that in the end the people from Lengyu Inscription City were taken care of by them? The people in the inscription plaza were puzzled. They looked at the group of people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City who descended from the sky and suddenly realized that Song Qing and his disciple were missing from them. Also, the city lord and the others were not among the people from Lengyu Inscription City. What was going on? When everyone saw this scene, they were instantly confused. At this moment, there was a sound from the Heavenly Wind Inscription Tower. Bang, bang, bang. In the sky, rays of light flashed. Then figures appeared one after another. Haha. It must be the other people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City who came out. Seeing this scene, the people from Lengyu Inscription City who were guarding outside were excited again. So what if the people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City beat up their Lengyu Inscription City's low-level inscription masters? Their city lord was not among them. There was also a group of high-level inscription masters from Lengyu Inscription City. With these people here, the people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City could forget about getting any benefits. However, the people from Lengyu Inscription City did not know that other than Luo Qingtong and Song Qing, the rest of the people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City were all here. Therefore, the figures that appeared in the sky were definitely not from Heavenly Wind Inscription City. They were feeling complacent in their hearts. In an instant, a figure fiercely smashed in front of them, causing them to be stunned. City Lord. Everyone looked at Lengyu Inscription City Lord, who was smashed out of the inscription tower with a dusty face, and were instantly dumbfounded. Following that, a series of banging sounds rang out. In an instant, another series of people smashed in front of them, smashing Lengyu Inscription City Lord, who had yet to get up into the ground. Bastard! All of you scram! Lengyu Inscription City Lord was so angry that he sent all the people who were smashing into him flying. It was only after he sent those people flying that the crowd was shocked to discover that Li Yunmu's group had been sent flying. The people who smashed into Lengyu City Lord were all high-level inscription masters of Lengyu City. What was going on? City Lord Lengyu and the others were all blasted out of the inscription tower? Were they moved out by the inscription tower due to lack of physical strength, or were they beaten out by someone? Everyone guessed in shock. After that, when they saw the wounds and sorry state of Lengyu and the others, they immediately had an answer in their hearts. Oh my god. City Lord Lengyu and the others were actually blasted out by someone. Who is so powerful in Heavenly Wind Inscription City? You can actually blast them all out. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. Previously, they thought that the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City would definitely lose. However, no one would have thought that under such an advantage Lengyu Inscription City Lord and the others would actually be blasted out. How was this possible? Who did it? Was there such an inscription master in Heavenly Wind Inscription City? Everyone thought in disbelief. Chapter 2344. An inscription master from Skywind Inscription City suddenly pointed at his group and shouted, "Junior brother Qing and his disciple haven't come out yet." The group of people from Skywind Inscription City naturally didn't know how many of them had participated in the battle for the inscription tower. Thus, with a glance, they immediately confirmed that other than Song Qing and his disciple, Xianxia, everyone else was here. Could it be that the one who defeated Ling Yu and the others and blasted them out of the inscription tower was actually Song Qing? The group of people didn't even consider Luo Qingtong. After all, the youth called Song Qing master. How could such a person be an expert in inscription? In the hearts of the crowd, it was likely that Song Qing had hidden his strength. That was why he disregarded everything and went forward to stop the people from Lengyu Inscription City. From there, he asked the other party to fight for the tower in order to take away the inscription tower. And Luo Qingtong's bet with Lengyu Inscription City was also seen as a sign from Song Qing. When the group of people from Skywind Inscription City thought of this, their hearts suddenly became clear. However, just as they were thinking this, the words of Lengyu Inscription City Lord and the others shattered their fantasies. Humph. Don't be complacent, you people from Skywind Inscription City. Who would have thought that you people from Skywind Inscription City would be so cunning? Not only did you invite a spirit seal master to take charge of Inscription City, you even shamelessly made him acknowledge Song Qing as his master and hide his identity. And that inscription trash Song Qing, his talent is actually first-rate. You people from Skywind Inscription City have clearly dug a hole for us to jump into. However, it's a pity that you don't know that the master in our Lingyu Inscription City is not just a spirit seal master. Old Zhang. Just wait for your people from Skywind Inscription City to continue to despair. Lingyu Inscription City Lord crawled up from the ground and fiercely wiped the blood from the corner of his lips. He had really been beaten up badly by Song Qing just now. If the latter hadn't been in a hurry to help Luo Qingtong, they wouldn't have been able to escape so easily. However, it would be a waste of time for Song Qing to go. How powerful was Master Qin in Inscription? The City Lord of Cold Jade Inscription City could sense from the 5th floor that the strength of that Master Qin was clearly far above that of an ordinary spirit print master. And at the later stage, it was obvious that he had used the power of the battle inscription mark. This feeling couldn't be wrong. After Song Qing went up, he would most likely be as unlucky as his disciple. Lingyu Inscription City Lord thought. His face turned cold as he looked at Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others. To think that they had hidden all of this so deeply. They clearly had such a trump card, yet they were still hiding it and pretending to be helpless and in despair. If Master Qin hadn't hidden his true strength, he would have fallen into their trap. When Lingyu City Lord's voice rang out, Skywind Inscription City Lord and the others felt a wave of confusion in their hearts. What did he mean? What did he mean when he said that Heavenly Wind Inscription City had invited a spirit seal master to oversee the city? Song Cheng's innate talent wasn't trash at all but first-rate? Was Lingyu City Lord's brain damaged? Who didn't know about Song Cheng's inscription talent? Moreover, if the people of Skywind Inscription City really had such a trump card, why would they be in such despair? Chapter 2345. Then he heard the inscription masters who came out of the inscription tower say, Master, Senior and Junior Brothers, it's true. Junior Brother Song Qing and his disciple are really not ordinary people. Junior Brother Song Cheng's inscription talent is not lower than ours. When we were trapped on the 3rd floor, it was Junior Brother Song Qing who saved us. And his disciple Xianxia is also a spirit print master. A senior inscription master from Skywind Inscription City said excitedly. His face was flushed red. Because of the loss of blood, his face was pale. Because of this excitement, it was flushed red, making his face look extremely rosy. And the people around him, after hearing his words, also agreed in unison, confirming his words. Master, fellow brothers, this is indeed the case. If it wasn't for Junior Brother Song Qing and his disciple, I'm afraid we would still be trapped on the 3rd floor and tortured by the people of Lingyu Inscription City. His disciple Xianxia is really a spirit print master. The words of the crowd proved the truth of this matter. In the hearts of Skywind Inscription City Lord and the others, they were all surprised and happy. That Song Cheng's disciple was actually a spirit print master. But what was going on with Song Cheng's inscription talent? Everyone was both surprised and puzzled. For a moment, they did not notice the last words of Lingyu Inscription City Lord. Just as Lingyu Inscription City Lord sneered in his heart and was about to say something, another sound suddenly came from the inscription tower. Ha! People of Skywind Inscription City, just you wait and see. It must be Song Qing and his disciple who were thrown out by Master Qin. When Lingyu Inscription City Lord heard this sound, he was instantly overjoyed and immediately raised his head to look ahead. At this moment, Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others also recalled the ruthless words he had just said. They were immediately shocked and raised their heads to look at the inscription tower in front of them. Could it be that the truth was as Lingyu Inscription City Lord said, that Master Qin had thrown Song Qing and his disciple Xianxia out? Everyone's hearts tightened as they stared unblinkingly at the figure that appeared in the air in front of them. You don't have to look anymore. It's definitely Song Qing and his disciple. You people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City. Lingyu City Lord had just finished speaking when the figure in the air smashed down fiercely, smashing him into the ground. Plop. Lingyu City Lord was ruthlessly smashed into the mud. Bastard! Get out of my way. Master Qin. Before City Lord Ling Yuan could get up from the ground while cursing, he instantly saw a face that was enlarged in front of him, pale and in a sorry state. This time he immediately cried out in shock. The figure that fell from the sky was Master Qin. It was actually the Master Qin who he thought would definitely defeat Song Qing and Song Cheng's disciple, Xie and blast him out of the inscription tower. Master Qin? How could it be you? Ling Yu's cry contained too much disbelief and shock. How could it be Master Qin? How could it be Master Qin? Chapter 2346. No matter how he looked at it, it should be Master Qin suppressing Song Cheng's disciple on the 6th level. Why was it Master Qin who was blasted out of the inscription tower in the end? And the latter's appearance was actually in such a sorry state. Ling Yu Inscription City Lord stared at Master Chen's disheveled hair and pale face. The blood stain on the corner of his lips was incomparably dazzling. It was obvious that this Master Qin had been kicked out by someone. Moreover, he was seriously injured and was teleported out by the inscription tower. What was going on? And the strange cry of Ling Yu Inscription City Lord instantly caused Master Qin to fly into a rage out of humiliation. A heaven-level spirit seal master and a battle spirit master actually lost to a brat. Furthermore, he had to use the help of Song Qing to successfully escape from the inscription tower. Otherwise, with the offensive ability of the battle inscription mark, Luo Qingtong might be able to completely kill him in the spatial turbulence before he was teleported out of the inscription tower. At that time, the one who would be teleported out of the inscription tower might be his corpse. Such a thing was a great humiliation to him. However, the city lord of the Ling Yu Inscription City asked in such a loud voice in front of so many people. His face was filled with indescribable disbelief. Immediately, Master Qin raised his hand and slapped Ling Yu Inscription City Lord, causing him to roll a few times in the air before heavily smashing onto the ground not far away. Shut up. As he said this, he forcefully swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Then he said coldly, "If it's not me, who do you think it is? Bastard." His expression was cold and his voice was furious. Ling Yu Inscription City Lord was slapped until he saw stars. His face was swollen like a pig's head, but he didn't dare to make a sound. He could feel the strength of the blow from Master Chen's hand. If he hadn't restrained himself, he would have been half dead. An expert at the peak of the human martial realm. This Master Qin was actually an expert at the peak of the human martial realm. What he sensed on the 5th level was not wrong. The other party had indeed used the battle inscription mark. But if that was the case, how could the other party lose? Battle Spirit Master. This was a Battle Soul Master. Song Cheng's disciple couldn't possibly be a Battle Soul Master, right? Ling Yu City Lord was stunned by Master Chen's slap. After slapping him hard, Master Qin snorted and looked in the direction of the inscription tower. Humph, the two of them are really dead. Master Qin heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the inscription tower was completely still. Luo Qingtong's strangeness left him at a loss. He didn't know where the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City found such an inscription genius. He had never heard of this name in the Central Inscription Association. Even that person from the Federation of Trade Unions couldn't be compared to her, right? He was actually so gifted. When he thought about how Luo Qingtong had summoned the battle inscription mark on the 6th level, Master Chen's face was filled with apprehension. But fortunately, when he threw Song Qing towards the entrance of the 7th level, he saw Xie rushing up. Humph, to save Song Qing, Xie will definitely crash into the entrance of the 7th level. Chapter 2347. And now there was no movement in the inscription tower, which confirmed his guess. The light at the entrance to the 7th floor was incomparably powerful, and even he was severely injured. Not to mention that when the president wanted to enter, he was almost seriously injured and had to recuperate for countless years. If it wasn't for this, how could this inscription tower have landed in this Heavenly Wind Inscription City? Now that there was no movement in the inscription tower, it was obvious that this was because Luo Qingtong and Song Qing had both died in the light at the entrance to the 7th floor. He could escape from the light at the entrance by luck, but the other party couldn't. Especially since all of the other party's abilities and sources of comprehension came from the inscription tower. Thinking of this, Master Qin laughed complacently. He felt relieved. Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, there's no movement in the inscription tower. The two of them have already died in the inscription tower. The battle for the Tianfeng Inscription Tower has ended with the victory of our Lingyu Inscription City. The Tianfeng Inscription Tower is ours, he proudly said to the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others. The latter and the others had yet to recover from his words. Hearing his words, the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's vision instantly darkened. He looked at him in disbelief and said, What did you say? They have already completely died at the entrance to the 7th floor. Master Qin laughed coldly. You people from Tianfeng Inscription City own the Inscription Tower, so you should naturally know what the 7th floor of the Inscription Tower represents, right? He said shamelessly. After the two of them threw me out of the Inscription Tower, they overestimated themselves and wanted to force their way into the 7th floor. Now you can see the result. There's no movement in the Inscription Tower. They're already dead. When the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others heard this, it was as if they were struck by lightning. They had yet to recover from the shock of Song Qing and Luo Qingtong having extremely strong talent, especially Luo Qingtong being a spirit seal master, when they heard Master Qin say that they had already died in the Inscription Tower. Everyone wanted to suspect that Master Qin was lying. However, if what the other party said was false, now that Master Qin had been thrown out, they should have joined forces to come out. However, there was no movement from the Inscription Tower. Not only that, he didn't even see the light of Luo Qingtong and Song Qing being knocked out of the Inscription Tower. It was very obvious that Luo Qingtong and Song Qing might really have died in the Inscription Tower just as Master Qin had said. Junior apprentice Brother Qing and the others will definitely not force their way into the 7th floor of the Inscription Tower after injuring you. An inscription master from the Heavenly Wind Inscription City looked at Master Qin with tears in his eyes. He is going to seize the pagoda for our Heavenly Wind Inscription City. He would never disregard the bigger picture. It's you. You must have used some underhanded trick on it. They had no choice but to collide with the light at the entrance to the 7th floor. The inscription master from the Sky Wind Inscription City glared at Master Qin. The people around him, including the City Lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City, were also awakened by his words and glared at Master Qin and the others. So what? Master Qin wasn't worried that his lie had been exposed. He looked coldly at the people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City and said, No matter what, I was the last one to leave the tower. The winner is the people from Lingyu Inscription City. Chapter 2348. When his voice rang out, the people of Tianfeng Inscription City finally came back to their senses. A high-level inscription master from Heavenly Wind Inscription City took a deep breath, and then he shouted loudly, Wait! Our Tianfeng Inscription City has indeed lost to the Inscription Tower. But what about the bet that Lingyu Inscription City Lord made with us? Everyone's hearts were filled with grief. However, this wasn't the time to be sad and despair. Although Luo Qingtong and Song Qing didn't return alive and were ambushed by the people of Lingyu Inscription City and seized the Tianfeng Inscription Tower. However, because they had made a bet with Lingyu Inscription City Lord, they had won the last chance of survival for the people of Tianfeng Inscription City. The senior inscription master from Tianfeng Inscription City suppressed the grief in his heart and said coldly, According to the contents of the bet, our junior brother Qing won against Lingyu Inscription City Lord. There shouldn't be a problem, right? When his voice rang out, the group of people from Tianfeng Inscription City recovered from their grief and looked at Master Qin and the others. That's right. Although our people from Tianfeng Inscription City lost the Inscription Tower, Lingyu Inscription City Lord and the others also lost the bet. And among them you are included. Tianfeng Inscription City Lord recovered from his grief and said coldly to Master Qin, I wonder what you are going to do. When the words of Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others came out, Master Qin's face instantly turned ugly. Only now did he remember that Lingyu Inscription City Lord, that idiot, had agreed to the bet with Song Qing and the others before fighting for the tower. Originally, this bet, in his opinion, was no different from Song Qing and the others sending themselves to their doorstep. In his heart he was also willing to accept this bet. In the end, who would have thought that Song Qing and his disciple would be so abnormal? Forget about that Xie who was an inscription genius from who knows where. But that Song Qing, how did he raise his inscription talent to such a high level? Pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. He was actually tricked by them. He looked at Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others with an ugly expression. If he denied that he was a member of Lingyu City at this moment, then the inscription tower battle this time would lose its effectiveness. Since he wasn't a member of Lingyu Inscription City, he naturally couldn't represent the people of Lingyu Inscription City to seize the ownership of the inscription tower. However, if he was from Cold Jade Inscription City, then he would have to fulfill his bet with Song City. If Cold Jade Inscription City Lord lost the bet, then he would have to cripple his own inscription ability. These people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City really knew how to grab hold of information. Damn it! When Master Qin looked at Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others with an ugly expression, the latter also looked at him with a cold and determined expression. Master Qin, what do you think? Please give me your answer. Either the other party would give up the ownership of the inscription tower, or they would cripple their own inscription skills. It all depended on the other party's choice. When they thought about how this was an opportunity that Luo Qingtong and Song Qing had created for them, the group of people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City burst into tears. They couldn't hold it in at all. Master Qin, what do you think? The group of people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City asked in unison. And the group of people from Lingyu Inscription City couldn't bear it at all. They looked at Master Qin. Especially Lingyu Inscription City Lord, his body was trembling violently. Chapter 2349. When he was knocked out of the tower, he didn't think of the bet. Now that the people of Tianfeng Inscription City had pointed it out, he instantly shuddered. One had to know that he had bet his life with the people of Tianfeng Inscription City. At most, the other people in Lingyu Inscription City didn't have the strength of inscriptions. But he had to pay with his life. When Lingyu Inscription City Lord thought of this, he was about to cry. He regretted his actions to the extreme. Why did he have such a cheap mouth before? Why did he have to bet with that poor bastard Song Qing? This time the other party was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. He had hidden his strength and tricked him. Lingyu Inscription City Lord suspected that Song Qing was purposely scaring them when he said that he was going to use that formation to find his disciple. Otherwise, how could the inscription man-searching formation go wrong? It was obvious that Song Qing and the others wanted to lower their guard. In the end, in this battle for the tower, they wanted him to make a bet with them because he was complacent and confident. Damn it, they were too sinister. They were too shameless. When Lingyu Inscription City Lord thought of this, he couldn't even cry anymore. He trembled as he begged Master Qin, Master Qin, why don't we? Let's forget about it. Before he could finish his sentence, Master Qin's face darkened and he slapped him across the face, sending him flying. Shut up. Master Qin's face was gloomy. If it wasn't for this idiot, how could he be forced to such a state by the people of Tianfeng Inscription City? Master Qin didn't mention that he also agreed to this bet. He said coldly to Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others, "We will naturally accept this bet." Just as he finished speaking, Lingyu Inscription City Lord, whose face was swollen and half of his teeth had fallen out, shook his head like a madman. He wanted to stand up and rush over to deny Master Qin's words. However, the latter's powerful aura enveloped him and instantly froze him on the spot. You people of Tianfeng Inscription City, get ready. Tomorrow we will come and take over the inscription tower. At that time the people of our Cold Jade Inscription City will naturally fulfill the bet. As he spoke, he glanced at Lingyu Inscription City Lord. Then he led Lingyu Inscription City Lord and the others out of the inscription square. As for Lingyu, the city lord and the others, after receiving the signal from his eyes, also hesitated and calmed down. Following him, they stammered and left. Master. Lingyu uncovered his swollen face and said to him hesitantly, "We won't really fulfill the bet, right?" If it weren't for Master Qin's warning look, he would have fought with his life on the line. Naturally, the city lord of Cold Jade Inscription City was not willing to take the inscription tower. Instead, he wanted his own life. As for the other people from Cold Jade Inscription City, they naturally didn't want to lose their inscription power. They didn't want the inscription tower as much as Master Qin did. After all, even if he couldn't get it this time, there would be another chance. However, that was not the case for Master Qin. Luo Qingtong's appearance caused his heart to be filled with vigilance. He suspected that his actions had already been discovered by someone. If that was the case, then he definitely couldn't miss this opportunity to obtain the inscription tower. Because if he had to wait for another 10 years, he would lose his patience. He had to obtain the item on the 7th level. Of course not. Chapter 2350. After killing the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord and the others, let's see who would dare to propose the matter of fulfilling the bet with them. Without the person who signed the bet with them, this bet would be useless, right? That Master Qin sneered. Ling Yu and the others were overjoyed when they heard this. That's right, why didn't they think of such a method? Master Qin is wise. After we return, we will immediately make the arrangements, he said with a proud and high-spirited expression. With a chance to live and obtain the inscription tower, why wouldn't Ling Yu Inscription City Lord do it? Furthermore, at this time Ling Yu Inscription City Lord could also sense something. Master Qin came to their Ling Yu Inscription City this time to help them obtain the inscription tower of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City. It was definitely not for the battle inscription mark of the peak of the human martial realm that he mentioned before. Wasn't this a very simple matter? Master Qin was clearly not only a beginner spirit seal master, but also an even more powerful inscription master. He didn't know if he was an earth-level spirit seal master or a heaven-level spirit seal master. Not only that, he was also a battle spirit master. Since that was the case, what else was worth coveting for the battle inscription mark of the peak of the human martial realm? The only thing that could make him covet it was something else in the inscription tower, right? Thinking of this, Ling Yu Inscription City Lord's heart skipped a beat. He thought of the 7th floor of the inscription tower in the Heavenly Wind Inscription City. It was said that the 7th floor was extremely mysterious. When the people of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City obtained this inscription tower, they had once mentioned that even the president of the Inscription Association couldn't enter the 7th floor. They told the inscriptionists who entered to cultivate and improve themselves not to touch the 7th floor. And because the 6th floor of the inscription tower was something that only those who were about to break through to the Spirit Seal Master realm could barely touch, no one paid special attention to the 7th floor. As for Ling Yu Inscription City Lord and the others, they just listened and didn't pay special attention to it. Now that he thought that this Master Qin might have other motives, he immediately thought of this matter. In an instant his heart was fiercely shocked. However, Ling Yu Inscription City Lord didn't dare to say a word. So what if he saw through Master Chen's intentions weren't simple? The things on the 7th floor had nothing to do with them. If even the president of the Federation of Trade Unions couldn't obtain it, then there was no need for people like them to even think about it. Whatever Master Chen wanted to do was none of their business. They only needed to obtain the inscription tower. Thinking about this, Ling Yu Inscription City Lord became happy again. The group of people rushed back to the place where they were staying. In the inscription plaza, the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City gritted their teeth as they watched Ling Yu and the others leave. Master. An inscription master from Sky Wind Inscription City covered his wound and said to Sky Wind Inscription City Lord, Ling Yu Inscription City's people must be up to no good. That Master Qin said that they will come tomorrow to take the inscription tower and fulfill the bet. I'm afraid. Before he could finish his words, the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord had already dejectedly shook his head and said, I know what you mean. As he spoke, he sighed heavily and said, but our Heavenly Wind Inscription City has no other choice. The Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's words were filled with sadness. Chapter 2351. With the Ling Yu City Lord and the others, how could they fulfill the bet and cripple their own inscription strength? Even if they were willing, how could the Ling Yu City Lord hand over his own life? Therefore, when Master Qin said that he would come tomorrow to take the inscription tower and fulfill the bet, there must be a trap. But even so, they had no way to stop the other party. After all, they didn't say when they would fulfill the bet. The people of Ling Yu City didn't say that they wouldn't fulfill it, but said that they would fulfill it tomorrow. This matter was reasonable. The Tianfeng Inscription City Lord couldn't stop them just like that. Thus, even if they knew that there was a trap behind their departure, the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others had no way to stop them. Sigh, the heavens really want our Tianfeng Inscription City to die. Originally, they thought that with the bet signed by Luo Qingtong and Song Qing, they could force the people of Ling Yu City to give in. However, they were clearly about to succeed. That Master Qin had messed up the situation. It was obvious that the other party was determined to obtain the inscription tower. Just what was it that could make him so unwilling to give up? Thinking of this, the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's heart suddenly jumped as he raised his head to look at the towering 7th floor of the inscription tower. Could it be? While the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others were confronting the people of Ling Yu City, Luo Qingtong had already seen the layout of the 7th floor. The layout of the 7th floor was completely different from the previous 6 floors. The 7th floor was a vast expanse of emptiness. White mist floated in the surroundings, clustered around Luo Qingtong and Song Qing like clouds. The two of them were surrounded by a vast expanse of emptiness, and there were no pillars in sight. If it wasn't for the fact that they had indeed crashed into the 7th floor, Luo Qingtong would have thought that they were no longer in the inscription tower. This is where the 7th floor is? When Luo Qingtong sized up the 7th floor, Song Qing was also very surprised. He looked left and right. To Song Qing, he had never even entered the inscription tower before, so it was naturally strange. However, in order to deal with the people from Lingyu Inscription City, he didn't take a good look at the scene in the inscription tower. He only took a casual glance. Looking at the scene on the 7th floor, he was shocked. This was because the space on the 7th floor looked like an independent space. Unlike the previous 6 floors, there was not the slightest bit of oppressive aura here. Otherwise, Song Qing would not be so carefree here. He didn't have Luo Qingtong's inscription talent to share with him. If there was an inscription aura here, he would have been sent flying long ago. While Song Qing was looking left and right, Luo Qingtong's gaze was fixed on a certain spot in the inscription tower. She had a feeling that the thing that had been faintly attracting her when she entered the inscription tower was right there. Could that be what Master Qin was looking for? Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. She looked at the scene around her and wasn't sure if she should go over and take a look. After all, the space on the 7th floor was too strange. No one knew what was going to happen or what kind of danger was waiting for them. Chapter 2352. Luo Qingtong was bold because of her skills, but that didn't mean that she didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. She wouldn't do anything that she wasn't sure of. Moreover, Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered. She couldn't see through it. The entire space of the 7th floor was still the same as before in her crimson eyes. There must be some kind of powerful force shrouding this place. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she wanted to take Song Qing and leave. After all, it wouldn't be good if she took the risk and implicated Song Qing. She would have plenty of chances to enter the 7th floor to investigate after she secured the inscription tower. However, just as Luo Qingtong thought about it, she suddenly turned around and discovered that Song Qing was no longer beside her. He was still here just a moment ago. Luo Qingtong even saw him from the corner of her eyes. What's going on? Humph. Luo Qingtong let out a low grunt and asked Little Pig on her shoulder, "Did you see how my master disappeared?" Oh. Little Pig was also astonished by this development. He saw Song Qing just a moment ago, but his mother and baby disappeared into the boundless surroundings in a flash. It's this white fog. Little Pig raised his little hoof and pointed at the white fog that was gathering around Luo Qingtong. It seems like he disappeared when the white fog gathered around him. If Song Qing moved, not only Little Pig but also Luo Qingtong would have sensed it. However, the latter just disappeared right in front of them. It was obvious that this white fog was the cause of this strange phenomenon. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. She raised her hand and reached into the white fog in front of her. However, nothing happened. It seemed like this white fog was only targeting Song Qing. Thinking about how Song Qing had entered the 7th floor first and accidentally found a way to enter here, Luo Qingtong's brows furrowed slightly. Scope. It was impossible to leave now. Without finding Song Qing, how could Luo Qingtong leave this place alone? After probing the white mist for a while and finding that it had no reaction to her, she immediately waved the sword in her hand and rushed in the direction that gave her a special feeling. She had a feeling that if Song Qing had gone missing, it was very likely that he was there. While Luo Qingtong was flying in that direction, Little Pig, who was perched on her shoulder, was sizing up the 7th floor of the inscription tower. The more it looked at him, the stranger its expression became. This place. Little Pig raised his little hoof and scratched his head. He didn't know if his feeling was right or not. The feeling this place gave him was clearly. Just as it was thinking, Luo Qingtong had already followed the feeling in her heart and arrived at a strange place. When the surrounding fog broke apart, an open space was revealed. On the empty ground there was a huge stone tablet. The runes on the stone stele seemed to be alive as they swam about on the surface of the stone stele. They were dazzling and golden in color. And Song Qing was right under the golden stone tablet. The golden runes swam about on the stone tablet and projected their own light downwards. The light enveloped Song Qing's body and covered him in a layer of golden light. Seeing this scene, Little Pig's eyes instantly widened. His mouth formed an O shape as he exclaimed, F***CK. That old man Tianmingzi, did he really put this thing here?